Okay, yeah, moving on to the fifth week of theater school already, and I've gotta say, really does not feel like it has been that long. I got here about a month ago at this point, just over, and it doesn't feel real that it's been this long already. I think if you've ever heard of a concept called chunking, it's essentially where you take a significant portion of your life and break it into certain categories. Like here's your elementary school years, where you're doing kindergarten to eighth grade, and then you do high school, and then it's 9 to 12, and it all goes by so quickly. That's what it feels like here right now, where the entire past month has just it's been like a week. One thing that I've picked up from the school that is really annoying me when I hear it of myself in casual conversation is using the word like and just over and over again, or kind of, or anything like that. Those little filler words, and it bothers me so much because I can't unhear it now that I've been told to try and avoid using them. And I still do it, but just there. It annoys me so much when I get down to it. Anyways, getting back on actual topic, this week was fun. And I know that not a very solid descriptor on the face of it, but that really is the best way I have to describe the week as a whole. Everything we did was just everything we did was enjoyable, except for Thursday, wherein so every week we have scenes that we have to present to the class, and we show them to both of our teachers, and sometimes a third teacher comes in to help us out too. Actually, they've been there every single time so far, but that's neither here nor there. And they gave me a note that they couldn't really read my tactics and intentions, which, as an actor, that basically translates to your scene doesn't convey what it's supposed to. Um, Now, that might be a bit of an extreme interpretation of that, but scenes, tactics, and intentions are very important parts of scenes. They help guide you. They're what drive your acting forward, right? We had a pretty big discussion in Friday's class about how a lot of the time tactics or intentions are things that will really make or break an actor. And certain actors use tactics and objectives all the time to convey their message, and some of the best actors out there will use hundreds of tactics in even a single scene. Well, hundreds might be a stretch, but the point is, even in a single 5 minute scene, they could use upwards of 10 different tactics, if not more. And that it's a level I'm not at yet. I mean, obviously, I'm not a professional. That's why I'm at a school. But it is a level that I hope to be able to reach someday, and that means I need to be putting in the work. So the same teacher who gave me this big note also gave me a new way to think of it, because at the end of the day, I'm a very logical person. I like to think my way through problems. I don't like to feel my way through problems, and that can be problematic when part of what I'm trying to do is convey a feeling or express myself. And even some of my classmates have kind of even some of my classmates have noted similarly. Oh, you don't have fun. You're so analytical. You're so reactive and predictive. You don't really emote or express yourself fully. And there's some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that, honestly, but that's just how I am, and I don't really have a better way to explain it than that's just what I do. I analyze, I think, and I act. Anyway, the note that my teacher gave me, and one that I think is genuinely great for recontextualizing if you're struggling with tactic or objective work yourself, is that you shouldn't think about it as what you want, but rather what you need, what your character needs in this scene. And it might seem like that's just a superfluous change, one word into another. Well, what's the big difference? But it's the subtext behind the word. Because needing something is a lot stronger than wanting something. So if you have something you need, it'll push you a lot further than something you want. Anyway, that being said, the week still had a lot that I thoroughly enjoyed. Jazz class was something I was able to get more into this week. Last week I had some trouble with it because it felt like we were moving way too quickly and I couldn't keep up with the pace, but this week when we went back over a lot of the work, I picked up on it pretty quickly and I was able to keep pace. I did martial arts as a kid, which I've talked about in probably a few videos at this point. But it really felt like I was reactivating a lot of those old muscles that had not really been used since I did martial arts. And it's a great feeling. Just being able to access old parts of your body that you never really touch anymore. It, it made me remember how much fun movement can be, I guess. And I know a lot of the time it feels like I'm relearning old lessons here, or that I'm being reminded of certain factors, or maybe even that I'll keep jumping back to points that I've already addressed, but that's kind of the point, I feel like. The entire point of the program so far has essentially been, as much as it is learning new stuff, pointing out how much we already use in terms of acting. Because acting is really just trying to present what is the reality, not reality. So that's another quote I'll get to, but essentially, you're just using stuff you've already learned and already mastered, and then using it to portray different people and different ideas. You're not using anything insanely out of your own reach, so you're still fundamentally using the same toolkit you always have. My teacher has described it as acting being truth, but not reality, wherein essentially everything that happens on stage, it's exaggerated compared to what a real life situation would be, sure, but it's still real in its own way. It's still demonstrating real things, just beyond a bit of the point of absurdity. Although I might be missing that. I might be missing the point of that a little bit there, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I think beyond that, the week is just the same, but I feel like I've gotten closer to people here, too. For a really long time, I struggled to try and find my place at the school because I felt like I didn't really fit in. Not because I wasn't passionate, not because of any factors like that, but I mentioned that I don't overly like sharing, and I feel like subconsciously that has created a bit of a gap between me and the people who are there. You know, not people are willing to share very personal stories, and I do the same, but it never really hits the same way for me because as much as they are personal stories, I'm not trying to spill out my heart. And I've told them as much, and they can appreciate that perspective because it's a lot meeting new people, right? I just met 12 peers who are going to be carried with me through the next 3 years, and people I'm going to be working with in the future. And they're willing to share very personal stories, and I'm just not ready to be that person yet. I'm not ready to be jumping fully on board and being like, yeah, let's trust each other with everything, let's do whatever. And that's not to say they are either, and I'm digressing a lot to what my classmates are doing rather than myself, but it does create a bit of a barrier. And it's one that I'll have to be gradually chipped away at for me, but one that I don't think is insurmountable, which transitions nicely into what I did yesterday, actually. So, this week, as another part of really big news, the show that our school is putting on just went up. So it was a production of Into the Woods that I got to go see it on dress rehearsal night, and then I had to usher, which is part of your requirement in first year is that you need to do front of house work, which if you've ever been to a theater to watch a show, that's the ushers who sit in the theater and are there to help you out if you need to go to the washroom. It's the ticket takers who are there to make sure you actually paid for your seats. It's the concession stand people who help you get a good fix of candy before you go into the stage and then have to sit down for 3 hours, which is a great decision to make right before going into something where you can't actually leave. Anyway, so getting to do that, I was an in-house usher, meaning I basically just watched the audience while watching the show to make sure they didn't ever need anything, and my audience was actually really good. And then on the weekend, on Saturday evening, which was yesterday, we had an opening night party, which I went to. So the opening night performance is invite only at our school because it's designed to bring in a lot of professional designers or directors, etc., to give some perspective into future students and see, here is this great person who just did our show. maybe you might want to hire them for something you do or invite them to an audition or something, which is honestly a really cool thing for the school to do for local artists because it is a foot in the door, which is super cool of any school to be willing to do for their students. But yeah, after the party, you're allowed to go in. Anyone from the school is encouraged to go try and build some connections, go talk to people, see what's up. And a lot of my classmates, and just a lot of people there, very uncomfortable with that idea. I am normally too. When it comes to social situations, if you put me one-on-one with somebody, I'm great. I am solid and golden, whatever. But if you put me in a large group full of people, I will shut down completely and will barely say any words if I can help it. And I decided to challenge that yesterday, wherein I would just inject myself into a group by standing there, then just saying hi, trying to get them. I actually got the director of the show to ask my name, and part of that was also I think I ended up being in the room while they were walking their dogs around. But either way, I managed to get myself at least that, and I didn't really talk to them. I wish I could have talked to them more, honestly. I really want to see what the mind of a professional director looks like and see how it is they go about creating these intricate worlds. I mean, obviously they're not the writers, but they bring so much life to the stage, and I wish I could have gotten an inside scoop into that process, because that genuinely is one of the most interesting things to me, seeing how different artists create their work. Then I ended up pulling aside the assistant director of, or not assistant director, but the assistant technical manager, so the guy who basically helps run all of the backstage stuff, and I ended up talking to them for like 45 minutes, which was great. Then I talked to one of my classmates, and look, it probably doesn't seem like this is anything too crazy, but at the end of the day, it was a party in which I decided to actively get outside of my comfort zone and go try and engage with people. And I'm proud of myself for doing that, because that's not normally something I would do in a group situation. So, yeah. If there's a big takeaway from this week, and it's probably one you can tell because I'm being much more animated than I normally am, I just had fun. And that's a very simple idea, but man, does it feels good to be so happy about what I'm doing here. As much as I had a really rough day Thursday because of that note and how it really ate up at me because it got me to think about my position here, what am I doing, I think getting some talks from my teachers, getting some information, getting to engage with people more, getting to be more expressive and show more of my energy, show more of my personality, aspects of myself that I don't normally feel comfortable sharing with anybody, and just and getting to push that out, getting to finally embrace the fact that I have a lot to say, I have more exciting and upbeat parts of my personality to talk about, and just go for it all the way. It was a great feeling, and I'm really hoping that I can continue to feel comfortable expressing who I am and just going for it for the rest of my time here and the rest of my life.